Oh, there we go. All right. So, okay, okay. Computer was giving me some flack, but now we're good. All right. It's got a B and an F sharp, right? And then it's got a B and an E. So you play those together as a double stop, and then you play this. Mhm. Yeah, now that's a really hard one to do and get in tune. The E, whenever you're playing with an open A or an open string, you're first pretty high to make it in tune. And if I were to play that same interval here, it's out of tune here. And then now it's clear, but I had to go lower in order to get that in tune. But then when I go to open A, it's gonna be out of tune here. And that's because perfect intervals are not the are not as perfect intervals have are perfect in terms of being fractions and have fractional relationships to each other, but and so they fit together as frequencies. But when we tune in Western music, like in this marimba, everything is exactly equal tempered, and so these notes are slightly out of tune from our perspective. So the benefit is that we move our fingers around to fit them. So when you play that E and A, you got to push that finger just a little bit high. And I got to sort of adjust it. And then if I'm looking over at the um, okay. If I'm looking over at the I need to just quickly get rid of one thing here, and maybe that'll work. It's not recording. Okay, good. Let me just adjust this thing on my computer so we can have our class. We can save this to. Oh, I get it. Choose a new location. Here we go. Let me just get this thing taken care of. There we go. And hmm. Hmm. Network. Oh, I've run into issues with my computer as far as recording. I think we'll be good otherwise. Um, it says, huh. Okay, so back to the musical thing. Sorry about that. I always record these lessons, but the computer's not allowing me to do that for whatever reason, and so I've got to figure that out. I would just say you can play just one note though. Ayla, on those, and then that can be decided in the performance, and that way the orchestra sounds a whole lot more in tune with playing the two notes together. So for instance, if you were to play that F sharp and I were to play that B at the same time, then we can listen and we can tune to each other, right? But if and then when you switch to the E, it doesn't require two notes to change. But if you want a little bit of a challenge, you can play that. You can play multiple notes.
Yeah, I think Mr. Ogle wanted us to play the multiple notes.
Then do it.
Find it
It'll
really.
make it kind of crunchy, in its sound. It'll make it kind of how shall I put it? Um, I don't know. It'll make it it'll make it um, it'll make it a little bit more distorted. I think, like electric guitar. Even I just did that really out of tune. You try it. Try the B F sharp, and then yeah, it's hard. And your E should probably come down a little bit. So what we're doing, what we're talking about, for those of you who have just come on, is that we've got this video or this sheet music of "Take on Me," by Aha, and the Hamilton Middle School Orchestra is playing it, and it requires two notes at the same time as like a low pad, And it does not say divisi, which is surprising that it doesn't. I thought for sure it would say div on that, but yeah, it doesn't. And the teacher wants them to play them all together. So this is the question of bar chords, and we can make this the topic of the class today. So a bar chord is any time that you put one finger over everything, over like two strings. So let's try that first off, and that is like from an open G. Oh, let's get tuned. Sorry. Everybody play a nice big A. And now let's go to D. And now G. And C. And so the bar chord is like, so often we talk about having our fingers curved in like this. But there are times when you have to play more than one string, and so you move your fingers around like this. Well, there are times when you have to play more than one string, and they are at the same position of string length, in which case you have to do a bar chord, and you bar, and we refer to it as barring. Either we say like, oh, we'll just bar 4, which is the fourth finger, bar 3, which is the third finger, and so on and so forth, 2 and 1. And what the first finger is the one that is the most standard way to, let's see here, date created. There we go. Previous 7 days. Great. Uh-huh. Oh, I should probably turn off this bit to make it. Okay, that's repairing. All right, let me just see if I can grab this thing. Ah, there we go. Previous 30 days. And I'm going to delete that, send it to trash. Let me see if I can free up some space on here so that I can get this thing recorded. Empty trash. There we go. Let's see if we can, see if we can get this thing to record. Oh, good. Okay, we're good to go. All right, so in bar chords on the cello are often in terms of a chord that exists like, let me bring up this music of the Bach suite with Polaine and let's see here, Bach suite and just make sure that that's going to work. Yes. Here we go. I'm going to share this bit with you. Okay, great. And over here, I'm going to share the screen and share the audio, and away we go. Okay, so now you're seeing a version of the Bach suites that's written in the mid 20th century. It's not very seldom do you see a version with 8 and 8 slurs, but sometimes I like to play it because it's kind of pretty, but it's not considered historical. But let's go over here to a chord that is a bar chord, and that would be A minor. Yeah, here we go. So we've got this funny chord right here, and we're coming from a funny chord which is over here. I was hoping we'd be able to find that. And so we're going to play a 1 and a 1 here, and then we're going to move our 1 and a 1 over here, and we're going to play the open A. And the way that it sounds in context is, okay, so, and the way that it looks is that if you watch my fingers on this one, I'm barring this one, and I'm letting off. And so there is this there's this 1 and 1 over here like this. So let's try that. So I'm going to go back to sharing the screen. There we go. And we're looking right up over here, which is a B and an E. And I want everybody to play that. And the key to it is getting your finger as straight across the fingerboard as you can. And perhaps we might need to start with playing the E. Everybody play an E? And then we're going to play the B across the same way. I'm going to go back to unshare. See? So I'm just playing the E, and typically we'd play with like this bent finger over here. But as soon as I need to play a bar, then my finger comes down flat like this. Yeah. Trill on there. The trill just goes up to the next note in the key, which in this case is a C natural. And if the key signature had a C sharp in it, we would go up to third finger with the C sharp. What we're dealing with right here is the Allemande. It's the second suite in the second movement in the first suite by Bach. Now the next one is a little bit harder finger to do, and what I'm doing here is I am barring the G string and the D string. While leaving, I have to bend this up in order to leave this open A and not touch it. And you'll know that it's perfectly in tune when it's just like when you do the open strings. They just sound like they are like two sheets of glass just running right next to each other. Perfect strings. Okay. So let's all try that. I'm going to put the music back, show the page back, and so that you can see all the cool stuff that is right over here, going over here. Strangely, in every version of music I've ever seen, this is at the end of a line, and this is at the beginning of a line. And so, yeah, it's kind of wild, but yeah, try it out. And then we'll deal with this one, which is the next level of order, more difficult. And that is the same notes here, but instead of an open A, we're going to do a C natural. And that chord is a 1-1 and a 2. So we've got a B. Yeah, go ahead, play it. I love hearing it. Yeah, this is good. So the and then oh yeah, let's do that last chord right there where my little cursor is, and make sure that this A, E, and C work out well. Here is the easiest of all of the double stop chords, and this is the one that I sort of base everything on. If I can get all of my double stop chords to work just like this one, I am good to go. This is the G, D, B. And then we got an A, yeah, and then let's go just for fun up to this one, A, E, and C. Second finger. And then let's go over here to this barred chord, and it's really an up bow. And that's how that plays out. All right, yo. So let's head down here to let's head down here to work on our massive, awesome scales. And we're in E flat major, and the thumb, as many of you may have noticed, is also something of a bar chord. When I put my thumb up here on this E flat and this one on this B flat at the same time, it is the same kind of bar chord here. And theoretically, you can move that bar chord wherever you want. So, for instance, let me just pull this up. I can move this bar chord. So I can start on a note like here. And so we have a kind of a sound like that, where in the where you can just move, and then suddenly you are in a key. Okay, so you get to think of the tip of your thumb as being the root, the bottom note, the tonic of whatever chord you're on. So let's try sliding around on the thumb a little bit. And let's try also sliding around on two strings. You can slide anywhere you want. You can make a scale out of it. Or in this case, we're in E flat major. All right. So all bets are off in terms of hand position when you do a double stop and when you bar. Generally, it will require your thumb to actually squeeze, because it's almost impossible to play 4 notes, say, without the use of the thumb. So I spend a lot of time helping my students relax this thumb and hang the fingers from the fingerboard. And those of you who've studied with me for a while know that scene. And those of you who maybe have just started, it's coming. So the thumb typically is just hanging out and marking space, and it just sort of hangs next to. But as soon as a bar chord comes up, like if I'm playing 1, I can hang it. I can hang it. But I find to get a good sound, I might need to squeeze just a little bit. And sometimes that thumb comes around over here, depending. Oops, my bow's in the way. Sometimes that thumb comes around and does that kind of a thing. Yeah. So it's great to work with you on this. Let's go straight back to the E flat arpeggio, if we can, and that'll be, yes, right here. And let's take a look at this bit, and let's really play. Turn on your microphones, because I love hearing all the E flats and G's and B flats and everything like that. I love hearing all those extra notes. And so here we go with E flat, and here's G. Here's B flat. Good. We got E flat, E flat. Excellent. Now thumb. And then thumb on the B flat. And then here's the highest note. Good. Definitely want to hear. Yeah, this is good. So now put your thumb on the E flat, which is this note right here. Okay, and that's this note. All right, and we're gonna put it on here, and it's on both strings, and then we're gonna go. Yes. Oh, I hear somebody doing a great job on that part. Now let's go right from the top come down with an E flat. Ready? And E flat, B flat, G, B flat, G. Good. Fourth finger, B flat. Fifth finger, G, flat, B flat, open E, and lowest one. Good. Now, does anybody want to try it a little faster? Like I'm thinking about. Okay, good. So here we go. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. G, B flat, E flat. Good. And we made it back. Let's do it a little faster. I mean, the same tempo. One more shot at it, the same tempo. And B flat, E flat. Now that you've got the notes in your mind worked out, I'm going to go back and show, and I'm going to play along so you can have a visual, okay, and also an ear, hear it on your ear. So here's the same one, E flat, E flat, G, B flat. Ready? Okay, who wants to go faster? I have a feeling Cole might want to. Cole, you want to go faster? No. Okay. All right. Well, the possibilities are endless. Or it's all possible, and you can do it as cellists. There, anything that can be done on the cello can be done by you. Okay, I promise you that you can do it. Okay, many of you have accomplished great things and accomplished great things on cello, and I think that that's a good lesson for us all. It's really cool. So next on the docket is let's do the scale, and then I want to take some questions. So whoops, let me just share the screen a little bit. I'm gonna go find the page that has all the good stuff on it. And perhaps at some point in time we might like to try a different, here we go. 3 flats, there we go. Here's our E flat major, and I'm just going to make it smaller. There we go. All right, this is the top part of the scale, or the top 2 lines, I mean, and we're going to play the whole thing. All right, and let's play it at a tempo, since it's Thursday, let's play it at a tempo that's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, ready, go. Third position, second position, fifth, seventh, coming back down, more time, just for luck. Any questions on positions or anything like that? Feel free to ask. If you have any, raise your hand. Go ahead. I totally want to help you through this. Right? Are we good? Okay, here we go. Ready and. Third position. Who wants to go faster? Raise your hand. Anybody? Nobody wants to go fast? Oh, Ayla wants to go faster. Okay, let's go faster. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. Good. And if anybody wants to go faster still, I would be totally hip. Anybody? Because and here's I'm going to make the class a little bit bigger. So what if you were to play this fast? What do you want to try? Anybody? This is like standard high school speed for E flat major. So if you want to try, let's just go for it. Ready? 1, dutty, 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 1, 2, 3, 4. Haha, good. And you can play at exactly half speed. You can go bum, 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 dum, dum, dum. Ready? And. Now, what's possible? How about faster still? Yes! Yes, you can! Yes, you can. Anything's possible if you just train your fingers for it. And if your fingers don't have to make any decision, you can totally do this. Okay, so I'm going to open up for questions on any material that you may have been maybe working on or anything like that. I've got some time. My next class is at 9:45, but it's a private lesson. So, yeah, I'd be curious to know what you're thinking. I'll wait.
Mr. Hawkins,
Yes.
I have a question about the bow.
Yes.
Do you know if there's a difference between having white bow hair or black bow hair?
Oh, yeah, sure. White bow hair is a little bit finer. It's a little bit, it still has the grippy parts of the hair on it that grip onto the rosin, but it's just a smaller particles, or smaller grips. Black hair tends to be a little bit more coarse. So it's used for bass, but it is also used for cello. And here's the fun part. Sometimes people choose what's called rice and raisins, which is to say they choose half and half, black and white. Especially if I were playing a lot of rock shows every night where I had to play really heavy, a really big sound all the time for 2 or 3 hours straight, I might play with a black hair because it's a little stronger. It doesn't break quite as easily. But the last time I tried to get my hair redone in black, they turned me down because they said, the luthier, and they were just here in Seattle, they said, "Oh, our black hair is really crummy. We just don't trust it, so we're not going to sell it to you." And I thought, oh, well, that's very nice, but why do they have it around in their shop? I'm not sure. But bass players tend to have black hair because the larger grips work better with the slower speed that the string is vibrating. And so when a violin is vibrating, it's vibrating anywhere from about 200 hertz, 200 times per second is that lowest string, up to the highest string is vibrating, how many times per second? generally about 3,000 times per second on the highest part of the instrument. Whereas a cello, our lowest note is vibrating just 66 times per second, and that and then like a regular A is just 220 times per second, and it only goes up to about 1,700 or so times per second that we're playing on the that the string is actually vibrating. So we tend to prefer kind of all of us tend to prefer kind of a lighter hair, makes it more smooth. But then the basses, their strings go down to like 40 times per second or 35 times per second, and so they like something that, because that string is vibrating like this, they like a little grippier hair, and that comes from the black. More questions? As you can see, I can't really answer a question quickly. It tends to go into all the side, all the side information. Feel free. Do you know why cellos are largely brown or red? And that's the varnish that they used in the Stradivari family, and it became a red kind of varnish. And they found that the color was that one of the additives was blood, ox blood from from cows, and that they put that into the color of the instrument. And for a long time they thought, oh well, maybe that's one of the secrets of why the Stradivarius instruments sound so good. But I think that we just have a different kind of color. It is a natural coloring typically, where we get our red colors these days. And that's where that comes from. So they actually color the varnish. Otherwise, it would be somewhat clear, kind of like that light color that like a light color that you find in furniture that's varnished, but it doesn't have a rich like red texture or brown texture, something like that. More stuff. Hey, it's Thursday.
I've got to do a shift, and I'm doing a bar, and then I have to go straight to like a fourth position on the A string.
Yes.
And I'm not quite sure how to get that quite right. I keep mixing up because it's just an eighth rest. So.
Oh yeah. The trick on that is to leave early. You have to leave early in order to get someplace on time. So sometimes you have to leave the note a little bit early in order to get there. And that's true for all of us when we're shifting. Make the shift somewhat slow, but just leave early to get there. That's a really good question. And if you want, contact me, send me a text or send me an email separately, and we can sort out all those problems. Hey, I'm going to head off to the next class. Wonderful working with you. Take care. Y'all are fantastic. Bye.